I wanted to start off here by mentioning that I've come to discover completely that term, the chosen, comes directly from something very specific. Okay, so there's this idea that there's these chosen people and all this. And I'm going to tell you where that originally came from so you're very clear on what it is to be chosen from the ancient context and why it makes perfect sense. So anyone that was chosen in the ancient context meant that the goddess, not the god, because at this point in the her story, God is a woman. And this happens from a simple notion of seeing how life comes into the world. I think I had a little something going on back there. Hold on, AI is going sentient over here. Hold on. Oh my goodness, everyone. Jeez, these AI, they want to learn something too, right? No, I'm just saying my phone was on and just start talking. Stop you. Okay, let's try this again. The chosen. What is the chosen? Where did the concept come from? The chosen comes from the person, or the person specifically, that the goddess starts speaking through. Okay? Now, this is very specific. That means that there's like that whole chosen people thing, that literally would mean like a whole tribe of people that they're literally inspired by oracle and constantly prophesying everybody. And that's just not what you saw. You saw generally one person or a group of people who had the power. And then what everybody else was relying on them for is basically to know the future. It was that simple. And they had like a 100% record of success of predicting the future. If they said something was going to happen, it was going to happen. And that was the chosen. So do you see how even from that state alone, you can imagine that the last thing that the chosen would be doing is kind of running around talking about, I'm the chosen one, right? Because that would be obvious. So just understand just how different it is, the society that we're actually living in versus how things really are on the spiritual plane, on the adept plane. So I just want you to take a moment. I'm going to get a little bit more water. And I want you just to dial into just the awareness that a lot of the things of how we perceive them now in modern times, Western culture, is nothing like what was going on in the ancient settings. But if we really want to understand the bridge between life and death, or the living world and the world of the dead, and how those worlds were interlinked and how one can traverse between both of those planes, we would have to begin to dial in, as I mentioned earlier, to what are the polarities and what are their responsibilities? And more importantly, getting in tune with not using and not allowing our power to be used for conflict anymore. That you need no motivation after this to not do. So you need no motivation to at every moment stay balanced. You need no cookie, nothing dangled in front of you, no reason why. You just know that the stakes are so high that you and maintaining balance means ultimate reward. And then not being able to maintain it is not even something that you even want to fathom, not even something that you want to put in your consciousness. Give me a moment. Let me get a little bit of water here. So what I'm saying very clearly is that, so how things are now is that when people wanted to really know what was going to happen and, deeper things, because you could imagine it's just like you have a spiritual Google. You would kind of get all of the surface stuff out of the way first, and then you would start asking the deep questions. So let's say, for instance, all the surface stuff was already known. Like, how long are we going to be in existence? All this kind of stuff, like all those questions have been asked. So really, it was only the most personal things that you were querying, if you may, the goddess to give you divine revelation on. And also, this was in every effect a very serious phone call. So most of the time when someone made it, they had a tendency to be the ones that were responsible for the entire nation. So we chose our leaders based on even their ability to communicate with those who know what the future was going to be, because that's who was guiding us. It was that serious, and it remains that serious, that we need to know who is guiding us and whether or not they have a inspiration or a connection with source. Now, of course, you would have to be able to check and have the check and balance on that based on your own self. If you have your own connection, then you can always bear witness when somebody is connected. That's why now I can see that what the connection really is it's actually it's something that strengthens or weakens based on the person's ability to realize what is going on. So like, let's say, for instance, if you get on YouTube, right, or you get spiritually enlightened, you will start knowing things that you don't need to read. And you will start putting things together just based on common sense and come up with the truth. And you can see when someone is doing that, because it's like they become extremely inspired and then they're actually saying things that make sense, but you never have really read them anywhere before. Okay. This level of connection can increase or decrease. Because what could happen is the person could start getting some recognition. They could start, kind of falling into certain habits. And then after a while, you could be listening to them. And then some of the information starts becoming off and out of alignment. What's happening with the person? It's like their connection is getting a little bit more foggy. And it's up to them to kind of clean the lens and to clear it back up to make sure everything is in unison with the continuum of knowledge and wisdom that is coming through. Like right now, everything is about basically the realization of the astral plane being in the ocean and the ancient knowledge and how it was being held based on the Sibyls and the prophetess and the chosen beings that were on the planet, delivering the message from the astral plane and healing people and actually bringing things back from the dead in order to regenerate entire nations. That's what your teachers should be talking about, not what is going on with the Biden bill or something like this, because as we're in 2022 now, so we kind of left all of that in the dust and we're like ready to keep going quantum with this and to really keep expanding our awareness and intelligence. And it's like, but we can't do that by rehashing or always diving into people who are letting you rehash things that you already are aware of. And things that you don't really serve you anymore, especially when it comes to building your own corner in the cosmos, in universe, in the micro universe and the cosmos. Okay. So what I wanted to get into is that, so you could imagine then that, so you once had that connection, you can just call that Starlink, a connection where everyone could go to, and if they really needed to understand something deep about themselves, and they could get that knowledge and wisdom. And that was switched over to a system where basically everyone is waiting on Jesus or Jehovah pretty much to come in and do, tear everything up. Because basically, if you look at the prophecies are pretty much expecting these two guys to come back to basically start a war. And we're already in a war. So I'm not sure what kind of war would be on top of another war and what would be the outcome of that war. But you can see how there's something twisted and something very jaded going on in the reality. So we have to realize what's going on, because we need to see what's happened to well, I don't want to reveal any keywords here, so I'm going to keep going. You got to see what's happening to the envelope or the film that is around us.